Indraneel, for me, the memory of Chitale is about the Bhakarwadis where we used to sneak out in the middle of the night. Like, mom used to keep it in a box and not like make sure we don't overeat. And then we used to get up in the middle of the night and go and grab some. But the brand actually goes back much deeper. There is a lot of family legacy there. And I'm told your great grandfather started with just 10 rupees and built this empire. So what's the real story behind this?
First of all, glad to be here. And that way, happy to share the legacy as well. So I'm a fourth generation, member of the family who's running the business now. And this was started in the year 1939 by my great grandfather. So his name was late Bhaskar Ganesh Chitale. BG Chitale is still the name of the parent company that is operating the dairy business for us.
Yeah.
He was a dairy farmer in Satara district of Maharashtra. And that way, prior to starting this business, he also used to operate a dairy farm.
Okay.
But this was more of a locally operated business and something that is not very well documented. But what was known was that he had a reasonable size business that he was operating that time. But the early 1930s was also a period of very high environmental disasters as well as natural diseases in India.
Okay.
Where many famines were caused. And that way, amidst it, he ended up losing all his cattle in under 3 or 4 days.
Wow. So he went from like something to nothing.
Correct. So that way, that point was where he had 4 kids and a wife who he had to support, and a business that was completely lost, and he was bankrupt. So he was just searching about what to do because everything had gone out of control. And on the train, he was sitting with his family, and somebody advised him that since you have nothing else to look into, maybe you could just look at this village called Bhilawadi, which is in Sangli district today. It is on the banks of the Krishna River, something which is a fertile land. It continues to be today as well. And that way, if you have nothing to do, you can at least start farming there and support your family. So because he had nothing to lose and no other choice in front of him, he took a call on the train itself that let me just go see Bhilawadi, see what's there, and see what I can do out of it. So he liked the place. He realized that because it is on the banks of the Krishna River, it is a perennial river. So the water supply was good. So at least he could start farming, and I think the community there also supported him. So he got there and settled. So that is how the start of the business came in. And there was no real plan. It was just about sustenance that actually made him start the business that time. The British Railway at that time used to operate a railway from Bhilawadi station, which was very important. And that way, what he did was the milk products that were made by him while procuring and managing his own cattle as well. He used to convert those products into derivatives, which includes khoa or mawa as it's called popularly, and curd sometimes, and send it with the help of the British Railways to Mumbai.
Wow.
And sell it as a B2B product to many other dairies in Mumbai who used to sell it under their own name. And that is how the business actually started.
It's amazing like how adversity led to the business come to be. But at this point, it was still a B2B business.
Purely.
But we know Chitale as a B2C brand, something that we've all consumed. So how did that shift happen?
So what happened was that this was an era before electricity as well in Bhilawadi. So let alone no telephony, no internet, no mechanism to see what was happening in the market. And he was about 300 kilometers away from Mumbai, which was a marketplace. And very often, because of the B2B nature, he used to be cheated by the merchants in Mumbai by saying that the quality was not great, the product got spoiled, etc., and never get paid for what he was selling. So that's when he called his eldest son, late Raghunath Rao Chitale, who is my grandfather's elder brother.
Okay.
He used to at that time work in a mill in Surat, and he called him to settle in Mumbai. And he told him that just keep an eye on what's happening in the business because I can't do it from Bhilawadi.
Sure.
And that's how my grandfather's elder brother joined. Eventually, a few years later, my grandfather also joined the business. And a few years down the line, their two younger brothers also joined the business. And amidst all of this, what they realized is that firstly, Mumbai at that time was not a great place to sell milk products.
Why is that?
Because there was no repeat customer there.
I didn't understand. Why would that happen?
So Mumbai was an expensive city to live in, and where they were trying to do business there, the demand generation was not repeated. And at that time, because there were no preservation techniques for milk, whatever was produced should have gotten sold.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it used to go waste.
Got it.
So what should they do about this was when they came to know, realize that maybe we should shift to Pune,
Yeah.
which was more of a educational hub, a growing pensioners hub as well, and there was repeat customer.
Sure.
So that's how Pune came into the spectrum, and they
Very
continued with B2B, and eventually in 1950 started Chitale Brothers at that time as the firm, which eventually became Chitale Bandhu.
So following the customer, I guess, is probably the takeaway.
Yeah.
Like identify the right market and figure out product market fit, as we call it in the tech startup ecosystem. What were the first few products that actually started gaining traction?
So again, this was a risk mitigation strategy, I would say, in the sense that because they started selling liquid milk first, there was no demand immediately because the brand was not created.
Okay.
So what do we do with the excess milk is where you convert it into khoa, and then you can't really sell plain khoa, so you add sugar and make peda out of it.
Sure.
And that's where the first product came, which was peda. Then eventually some auxiliary products started coming in, which were around milk itself. And then some other things like jalebis and samosas and dhokla and all these products came into the picture.
Yeah.
And eventually in the 1970s is when we found our star product, which was Bhakarwadi.
Okay.
So that way, many things happened amidst it. One shop went to two. The next generation, which is my father's generation, also joined the business. And I think two big changes happened that time, which was that milk moved from being packed in glass bottles to packed in pouches.
Sure.
We were the first company to do so back then.
Okay. Those
And
plastic pouches.
The plastic pouches that you see today even. And the other one was that, Bhakarwadi became part of the Chitale stable. So, of course, we couldn't supply enough. And then we started looking at automating that as well. But that way, that I think changed the perspective because, from selling commodities, we created a product range which had a demand as well. And there was value creation to it.
Yeah.
So, that led to better profitability for liter, which I think has been the, one of the fundamentals of how Chitale Group grew throughout.
What do you think really worked? Like if you were, let's say, somebody outside in evaluating this industry and this particular product, what do you think really clicked with the Bhakarwadi?
So I think what I see is that way the food business in India has always been about local champions. And that way, that was a space that Chitale Bandhu occupied very well. Eventually, that became regional champions with the help of these products. But say the world in the 1970s or Pune in 1970s was a very small geography compared to what it is today. And that way there was a localized marketplace who really liked the product well. Why they liked it was probably because there was enough thought given towards what would work in the taste palette.
Sure.
Because Bhakarwadi is actually a Gujarati product. What we sell is the Maharashtrian version of it. And that way now it's become an identity of what we do. But that way the product market fit happened well was one thing. The second thing I would say is that, for the longest time, because it was supplied in short quantity, not by design, but because there was limitation to how much we could produce, the shortage also led to a big marketing around it.
So there's a scarcity premium that.
So the scarcity premium happened. And I think whenever that premium scarcity was being created, the right time the family actually built scale around it as well. And that is where I think a good product was made, a good demand was created, stockouts happened, automation was invested, and I think the next orbit was achieved. Yeah. So that's something that has worked well for us.
Fascinating. I think it's a classic case study of how product development happens. Yeah. When you look at the scaling part that you referred to, was it because you were hiring more labor to build it, or was it mechanization that was happening at this point? What allowed this product to scale in terms of production?
So what happened was that since the mid 70s when Bhakarwadi was launched by Chitale Bandhu, up to the mid 80s, that way the product moved from maybe 5-10 kgs a day to about 300 kgs a day. And to make 300 kgs of product, we would end up employing about 100 people at that time.
Okay.
And this was all being made manually because, the sheeting was happening on manual presses.
Sure.
The masala was being filled manually. The rolling happened manually. And the frying also used to be in kadhais, large kettles at that time. So we realized that the challenge is not about the manpower, but it is the fact that this manpower is not able to churn the volume we require.
Okay.
And that's when my father and my uncle started investing into the idea that, how can we automate this in a mechanism where we retain the quality, we repurpose the people. But that way, if there is a demand for say 1,000 kgs a day, maybe, we should be able to do that and not say we are stocked out because somebody else is probably going to sell the same product and take away the market share.
Sure.
So we went from 300 kgs a day to 300 kgs an hour in the next decade or so. And it took stages to be done. So the sheeting got automated first, the forming got automated later, and the frying was automated the last. And I think by 94, all of this was working at scale. And today we do over 2,500 kgs an hour.
2,500 kilos of Bhakarwadi is made an
Yeah.
hour. Insane. That just I didn't actually realize it was that huge.
The forming machines where the masala is sprayed onto it, the rolling happens is a modified line that was imported from Holland or Netherlands. And it was actually a Croissant line that got modified. So if you see the Croissant and the Bhakarwadi are actually similar in shape. The Croissant is just spread out over a wider horizon. Bhakarwadi is spread in this is rolled in the same place and wound. So Croissant and a cheese spreader line, which is used in pizza lines, was modified. And that way, what my father tells me is that they shortlisted 2 or 3 companies to help us achieve that. And then they used to record the process here on video cassettes, courier the cassettes there, get an update from our agent in Netherlands at that time that A, B, C could be good options. Then go there, do trials and come back. And that way, they used to travel like what is today's travel ticket would be their travel budget for the trip, because there was a lot of restrictions in traveling and the currency they could take outside as well. So many things used to be done pro bono by people there as well. And I think it was all based on trust, which eventually led to this.
It's classic Indian jugaad, right?
Yeah.
They take a technology from elsewhere and apply it to your business. Indraneel, you made a big investment on the brand side with Sachin Tendulkar, and there was a play with the IPL also. How do businesses think about the ROI on these kind of investments? Because one thing that even I struggle with is brand investments, and what is the goodness that will come out of it? How do you think about the capital deployed and what benefits come out of that? So how did you think about that?
I think taking Sachin Tendulkar on board was a almost 5-year decision-making process for us.
Okay.
And it could have been sooner had it not been for COVID. But then thanks to COVID, we prioritized many other things in between to create a cleaner mechanism to deploy this capital.
Okay.
And that way, it's a big investment. It can be perceived as a cost as well. And essentially, if it is spread over a period of time, the first year is a cost. Because you don't necessarily measure the returns on it immediately, but over a period of time, it starts playing out.
Sure.
But what we as a food brand or a consumer brand required was validation. Because food is often bought on by something about it is known. So when you are a regional player, you are known in a certain region well. But beyond a certain marketplace, either certain products could be known or you would not be known at all.
Sure.
We want to believe we are not known at all. And that way, if in that marketplace, we want a packet of ours to be picked up against erstwhile players in that market or that category, what is a compelling reason for somebody to pick it up?
Sure.
So that way, that is where that curiosity needs to be struck. And then that curiosity struck could happen with a brand ambassador. And that's what we try to do. And I think we are learning as we progress. But what we've come to see is that way, if the brand ambassador associated with you is symbiotically well placed and well thought through, the results are highly differentiating. And over a period of 18 months, I think you start realizing that you probably should spend more to leverage the brand ambassadors that you gain.
So you invest in the brand ambassador, but also invest in the distribution to...
Absolutely. And also the mechanism to spend to show what you've done.
Sure.
Because you can, if you're not spending money to get visibility, if you're not spending money to do advertising, if you're not hammering the consumer where the share of voice is not improving for you as a brand, it's very difficult to justify these costs.
Yeah.
So that's why if there is no defined purpose of why this engagement needs to happen, what is going to be the outcome of this engagement, and how am I going to keep a track of all of this, most often engagements with brand ambassadors become a failure or a disappointment.
Sure.
But if you know it well, then I think many brands have successes with it. I think so far I would like to believe that we are just getting started and doing well.
No, I was a few podcasts ago, I was talking to Sudeep Goenka of Goldie Masale,
Yeah, yeah.
and they chose to go with Salman
Salman.
Khan.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said something very interesting, that it's also about getting attention from the distributors, because then they recognize that individual and they put it. Because I was asked, pushing back, saying that Salman is not something that housewives might be looking after, but he said no, it's about the distributor also. So I suspect in your case also getting visibility there is also important.
Yeah, I mean, say, imagine me as a brand from Maharashtra trying to distribute in Agra, in UP, for example.
Yeah.
A standard distributor might have heard of me, not necessarily known or tasted the product.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody they knew who might have traveled to Pune or Mumbai might have picked our product sometime.
Sure.
So why would he bet his money to invest into my product, which is likely to expire very soon, and try and hope that he sells it to retailers who in turn sell it to customers?
Sure.
So it's a lot of trust building emphasis that comes in.
Yeah.
And that way, that first tick box is something that is happening very well with brand ambassadors, where they are of the opinion that, अगर brand खर्चा कर रहा है तो मतलब they are serious about this business.
Yeah.
So maybe I should invest some capital and see what happens out of it.
The other thing is that typically when there are deeply funded players in every category, some of them are national players in this category, let's say Haldiram, but even the FMCG players like HUL, PNG, Pepsi, and so on. Do they try and make an attempt at the category where you are a dominant player? And if so, during that process, when that attempt is being made, how do you defend your playing ground?
Well, so I'm a big believer of category play, and I am rather of always of the opinion that you can probably have limited categories which you can dominate.
Yeah.
Then try to spread too thin and try to do everything at the same time.
Sure.
So, of course, eventually growth pressure leads to everybody trying to do everything. And there is no getting away with it. But then that is where I think fundamentally how difficult is the barrier to entry for other players is something that you have to build as a moat.
Sure.
And I don't think so that has been the traditional forte of our industry, because we got industry status only in 2018. Because till then we were a cottage industry as mithai and namkeen brands.
That's right.
So building those moats was not something that people have invested very well in. And I think technology patents also become a very important part of how you enter these marketplaces.
Got it.
And if you do this reasonably well, and if you look at it not as a cost but as an investment, then I think you can fight bigger players as well. Because very often you can be more agile than larger players and be very quick to respond to what would be the changes that are being facilitated in the market. When you're too large and too thin, then I think sometimes things get lost in perspective.
Yeah.
And then, that refinement sometimes leads to others eating your market share.
Correct.
So that's what you want to try and protect all the time.
No, absolutely. I was reading recently when, consumer brands get valued, a brand which has a higher market share in a category is valued more than a brand which has small market share in a lot of categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think defensibility is much lower. You created visibility first, and to that extent probably took some hits on the margin side.
Yeah.
But then now it's on its own once the product has found its PMF there.
So the distribution business game is purely about scale. All your stakeholders need to make money.
Yeah.
If they are all making money, then they will ensure that you make money because they are happy with everyone making money.
Sure.
So the bigger chunk of the margin is something that is passed on to the supply chain, be it the super stockists, the distributors, transporters, the retailers, and the benefits to the consumers. When all of them are happy and repeat order generation comes in, which say in today's times is lifetime value, that is when brands start making money. So that's how you should also build your unit economics around it, where the idea is to share and then grow.
No, that's a clean segue into how does the unit economics of such a business and at an overall level look like. Let's assume the 100 rupees that you retail for. What are the elements that go behind it? What is the margin on a product level and a company level basis? If you could just walk me through, that would be really nice.
See, so what I would say is that there is a COGS segment that comes.
Cost of goods sold.
Which is the cost of goods sold.
Yeah.
So that way on COGS, there are other expenses that are added to it because you have operational overheads, you have marketing overheads, you have the profitability per unit that you need to build into it, which eventually brings you to an X factory level of cost.
Yes.
So usually this should be under 60%
Okay.
for the quality of products we do.
Sure.
If we want to be, we don't wish to be, but if at all we get into the 5 rupee packet economics, which is our industry's large occupier, this probably will be even further lower at about 40%.
But that will come at the cost of quality that the consumer
It
is
does.
getting.
It does.
Okay.
And that way the ingredient quality changes.
Okay. So in your case, out of the 100 rupees, 60 rupees is COGS plus the
So 60 rupees is what I bill
Yeah.
to my super stockist or a distributor
Okay.
based on whichever channel I am operating into.
Sure.
Then there is about 8 to 10% of margin that is loaded by the distributor onto that
Got it.
to reach the retailer,
Got it.
because they are the ones who are investing into the stock, investing into the transportation of that stock to the retailer, and managing the order books from the retailer as well, along with our sales team.
Sure.
The retailer gets the largest margin. So that can be anywhere from about 18 to 20% going up to 30% based on the product category we are in. And that way, this can include certain schemes or it can be absolute based on the products. So when a retailer is selling a product at 100 rupees, he's probably received the product at about 80 rupees or 75 rupees. And that way the distributor received that product at close to about 70 rupees. And that way the manufacturer billed it at about 60 rupees. So that could be a good chain to consider in terms of a 100 rupee pack size. This probably goes further spread out when it goes down to a 5 rupee or a 10 rupee packet. But we consciously choose not to play in that category too much, simply because we are known as a brand of quality. People pay for the ingredient quality that we do. So we can't be competitive at that price point. So we make a conscious choice that this is where we want to play.
Yeah, and I suspect like with healthy retail margins, this sort of becomes a win-win, because as a brand, you always have the choice of where to increase your margin from. It can either come from lowering product quality or reducing retail margins, right? And both of them are costly.
But beyond that, operational excellence as well.
Sure.
And that's where companies probably don't look enough into, because you can always have a certain level of things that are operating when you launch, but when the economy of scale hits in,
Sure.
There is always supposed to be a delta created there which improves your bottom line.
Sure.
And when you start investing into cost reduction there, and by cost reduction, not ingredient quality reduction or cost reduction, but in terms of your operational overheads,
Sure.
many percentage points can be saved there as well.
What was the family dynamic like? Like, was there like everyone had defined roles, or was it like operating as a collective? Was there a head of the family who was taking most of the decisions? Take us inside the family business, like how it actually feels like at home.
So I think it's evolved over a period of time. And I think now we are a lot more professionalized in terms of how we look at business. Meetings would happen at breakfast, because that was the only time when the family would be together. And that way, all the discussions would be during breakfast that, this is what is proposed to be done, this is what we have in our mind, this is where we need to go, or etc. And that way, some deliberation discussion would happen. Probably things would be decided the next day for breakfast as well. And then people would be on their own, because, there was no cell phones also in the early 90s till that time. So that's how the decision making was. I think it was very well delegated to a functional level. But there was no distinction saying that this person should not look into that domain at all.
Indraneel, you yourself like studied engineering and got into the family business. Was there always that clarity that you will become a part of the family business, or was it at some point a discussion or a thought process that maybe I'll be a professional outside and be a shareholder in this company?
So what I would say is that I think I always had the freedom to try different things. But that way the family was always proactive in ensuring or letting me know that I am always welcome to be here.
Sure.
So there was no force fit done. And like say somebody like my grandmother probably was even proactive to the point that I loved automobiles. So she was of the opinion that, let him start an automobile business if he wants to, but let him do what he wants to be passionate about. So that way, I think that freedom existed. And because there was transparency, I would say we knew what we were getting into in terms of joining the business. There was no ambiguity of the idea that, what do we do when we join the business? And I think that definitely helped.
And when you came into the business, was the role clear? Like what we would do on the day you would land in first?
So I think when I landed and when I joined the business, for the first 1 year, all I was given were installation projects. That we are installing a fruit packaging line. We are installing a homogenizer.
So no cool
Installing a
stuff.
packaging machine. So it was all about being on the floor,
Yeah.
and it was by design, I would say. And I think my father made it explicitly clear to me that for the first year, if you feel you want to talk something, you talk to anybody who's around, who's from the family. So because I would be at a different plant, my father would be somewhere else. So it is better you discuss with somebody, deliberate on it, and then take a decision. Because otherwise there is a risk of power center challenges that could happen.
No, I didn't understand. Explain that a little more.
So when you're entering an organization where there are a bunch of professionals around for a long time,
Sure.
there is a labor force which is around a long time because we're a manufacturing heavy organization. There is always a mechanism of how decision making happens as a hierarchy.
Fair enough.
Whenever somebody comes from outside, it's like a asteroid breaking into the atmosphere, and no matter what the intention of the asteroid is, or how size big or small it is, it creates some tension.
Yeah.
So to ease that tension out and build trust, you probably want to slow down the person or the asteroid coming into that orbit.
Yeah.
So that's what my father did very well, and I think ably supported by his cousins as well. And I think that helped me build trust with the professionals inside the organization, where many people were around for 20 years, 30 years as well with us, and that way they started respecting the decision making, and also rather ensuring that very time I became their funnel to the management in terms of certain problems that were happening on the ground.
Sure.
So building trust becomes important. When that happens, I think you can start executing decisions much faster later.
Yeah.
So as they say, like, it's building roots. You have to go deeper first before you go taller, and that's what family businesses end up ensuring eventually.
Whenever I've interacted with third or fourth generation wealth creators who are now coming into the business, there seems to be a little bit of that frustration that you want to implement a lot but can't because of trying to convince a lot of people, right? And like that period of uncertainty, of knowing what to do but inability to do, is very hard for a lot of people to navigate, right? And most of them sometimes get disillusioned in that phase and then eventually give up on that. First of all, how to sell the concept internally, and when it takes time, how to engage your own self in and keep yourself positive.
See, I think I'll give you experience here on this, and I think one of the toughest decisions that I was able to take was change the mechanism of how we ran our store business.
Okay.
Because the family used to run and operate the stores, and that way we used to keep our stores closed between 1 to 4 at one time.
Yes, I remember.
And that way, changing the perspective of how we look at the store business, where it's not just the family stores that are being operated, but a retail front that we have to operate,
Yeah.
was one of the big change we had to do. And then moving to a point where instead of the people operating it, how can systems operate it, was the second big hurdle that I had to address. It took me almost 4 years to reach that point. So 2014 was when I triggered that discussion. 2017 was when it was implemented. So as a young mid-20s person at that time, it was challenging. I wouldn't say frustrating, but it was challenging because I did not know how to navigate. But one thing that really happened well eventually amidst all of this was we got acquainted to the idea of having a family business coach.
Okay.
And I think that is something that very often families don't wish to invest into. But that coach actually helped us take this decision better.
This is very interesting. What is a family business coach?
So very often this intergenerational conflict is very natural in terms of how families operate businesses.
Fair enough.
And one of the things I realized at that time was that one of my uncle had the same apprehension, that he spoke to the family business coach saying that, for 50 years I have only done this. I don't know any other aspect of the business. Now you suddenly want me to stop going to the store, then what am I supposed to do? So how do I remain gainfully engaged, was his question. And I was of the opinion that, how do we move from, say, 8 or 9 stores to maybe what we have 120 now. So that happened because of it. But then Firstly, how do you listen in an unbiased manner? Because everybody's coming with their own emotions into a decision. And very often with families, the emotional depth of a decision is far heavier than the logical outcome of it at times. So getting people felt that they have been heard is probably where it starts first. And then heard by an unbiased person who wants to help you take a decision becomes a far better mechanism than just us trying to volley around where, am I right or you're right?
In a category which is very hard to create a brand in. There are God knows how many consumer products selling or trying to get into the living room or the kitchen.
Yeah.
What were the few determinants of the success that you've had?
So it's taken 80 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything else around it.
So the time is a big
overnight.
part of it.
So we have to be slightly accepting of the fact that it takes time to break into this field. And I think the example of it not working the other way is present with many of the VC funded FMCG players, where the market acceptance in the real market is still not there. So I would still say we are a challenger brand when it comes to the distribution and the FMCG business. We are a strong brand in terms of regional favoritism, and that way recall value for certain important standards. So one of them I would say is quality, because that's why the premium that we command in the market is something that the customer is willing to pay.
Sure.
So how do we preserve that was the first thing that we did. Then how do we become omni-channel was the second thing that we started looking into. And that's where enabling that had to create a differential proposition. So one thing we used was very efficient technology. So be it packaging, be it supply chain, be it data analytics. There is a lot of investment that has happened into it. And that way, more importantly, it is about creating value for the consumer. And when I'm saying consumer, it is not just the end consumer, but it is the distributors and the retailers who actually sell our product the most.
Sure.
So be it my franchisee owner, be it my distributor, be it a e-commerce marketplace, what is the value that they get when they try to sell my product is something that I have to keep asking all the time and redefining all the time as well as things evolve. So if that is created well, where the biggest challenge in FMCG business, especially food, is the inventory turnaround ratio, where you want to rotate the stock fastest, and you want it to be freshest. So how do we build technology into that is where I think people start betting their money onto you. When that happens, your visibility improves. And as they say, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So आप अगर दिखने लगे और दिख रहे हो तो उसका awareness, if you're able to make it to the consumer, then I think the fulcrum of it is where repeat customer comes, and you eventually start growing as a brand.
Indraneel, you spoke about जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, and now in the context of quick commerce, this whole dynamic is shifting, right? It's no longer what is in front, but is also what the consumer is thinking about and therefore searching for. So how did you navigate this whole new era of distribution, and how much of the sales, first of all, comes from these channels?
So sales for us from the digital business would be about 4 to 5% right now. It used to be maybe 3 years ago less than 1%. So that's grown substantially, and we see that it will be about 10 to 12% in the future as it grows. Just pure marketplaces is probably already 10 to 12% in certain areas. What happens here is that in the digital marketplace, again, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है works, but then to ensure that you're visible there, you have to work with the operators very well. So all of these operators who are doing the quick commerce ability, they have a mechanism where they ensure that a certain spend comes back to the brand.
Okay.
And that is what makes the visibility there.
Got it.
So how does your marketing team get you visibility onto that platform is a part of marketing. And that way being very agile on it is becoming very important. Because like say conventional ATL, BTL branding, we could be like 1 month you take a hoarding, 1 month you take a bus shelter, everything's visible there.
Sure.
But with this you don't have that luxury. So sometimes the advertising can be only between 4 to 6 p.m. window. Sometimes it can be for the entire day. Say Ganpati Day we wanted to sell the modaks, where we are probably the largest modak producer in the country. So that way that was a traffic jam situation where we had to make sure everybody sees modak there. So it evolves, and that way getting the right marketing professionals there is important. But what works there is content. because you necessarily don't see the consumer. You are just seeing the insights. And that way, responding to the insights becomes a very, very data-driven job. And then creating visibility with the SEO options, the advertising options, the category options, and working with those marketplaces where they also tell you what are the new categories they are seeing the largest traction in, helps you make new products as well.
Yeah.
So that's why what I see is that when we move from this current 4-5% to 10%, this 5% jump is not going to be with the same products, but it will either be certain different SKUs made for these marketplaces or completely new range of products which are only for these markets.
Wow.
And I think what we are seeing, one of the big trends is that the consumer on QCOM is much more quality conscious than the one in the GTMT market.
Okay.
So that way they are more likely to buy healthier products or better quality products or good for you products, where brand like us, where we are using groundnut refined oil for all our frying, or we are using just milk based fats in everything that we cook, are benefiting much better, because the consumer sees this, that say Chitale Bandhu Son Papdi made with pure ghee available here, order now, get in 10 minutes. So if all these call to actions are done well, we have a better consumer reach we never knew existed, because ghee-based Son Papdi market we never thought existed beyond what would be our regular ecosystem. So that's where it works well now.
So it's fascinating. You're saying that on these marketplaces, the consumers who are coming are much more discerning about the underlying product quality.
Yeah.
And they are able to perceive that, right? Like they are going into the depth of what is going behind.
Much better. Because these are all digital natives. They are very often digital first. So it's not just one app that they are using. They are probably comparing on 2 apps as well. And they are reaching there very often with the help of social media as well. So all of these keywords, when that ecosystem play comes into the picture, they will end up spending for a better for you product. Then they would probably end up buying at a Kirana store.
Got it.
So that way, that is where that differential high quality consumer is something you can tap better and directly.
This is very interesting, and I hadn't thought about it, but are you seeing therefore change in consumption patterns? And if so, then how do you react to those changes in consumption patterns?
I mean, just example and point, and I'm trying to be very generic, is makhana as a category.
Yeah.
So, it got declared superfoods very recently. It has been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing makhana being made in not just palm oil, but even up to olive oil. So the one that we plan to launch is with the same variant as well, where we realize that it's a category we are missing in.
Yeah.
But it's such a generic product. There is not much value addition to it. But now you can sell it at 3,000 rupees a kg. And there are people who are willing to buy it because it has the right tick boxes that are needed for a consumer.
Got it.
So many brands have space to enter these markets. Now this makhana at that packet price is very difficult for a retailer to keep in their store, because the consumer coming there is coming with a fixed budget. They are of the opinion that, say like an average consumer in a Kirana store is saying that I want to spend 500 rupees.
Sure.
How many things can I fit in 500 rupees is what that consumer is looking at.
Correct.
And if they go to a supermarket, which is an A-class supermarket, they'll probably be of the opinion that my wallet size is bigger. I'll spend 2,000 rupees, so more items could come in. But with QCOM, say you want to see a cricket match and people want to order. Now, we probably don't want fried. We want something baked. We probably don't want something baked. We want something much more healthier. Instead of regular potatoes, we probably want vegetables to be there. So all of these choices, they are far better visible there. And because the consumer is paying a premium to get it delivered quicker in 10 minutes, they are taking instant choices for better quality products.
One of the diversifications that you're doing that I'm personally selfishly very excited about is the hot food segment.
Yeah.
And I know that you're coming up with a location in Maharashtra, in Mumbai, and potentially along the new metro there. How did you think about that? And like, what was the going in approach around, because it's a whole different business. It's got its own economics. It's got its own issues with localization, etc.
Yeah.
So what was the thought process around launching that new category?
So we first launched a store in the Mumbai-Pune Express Highway, food mall. This was pre-COVID. And this was a marketplace where everything was being sold hot. And we didn't have a single hot product. We had a lot of cold products like lassi, chas, etc. as well.
Yes.
And I think one of the big realizations that came there was that the people sitting there wanted hot food, which is for satiating their hunger there.
Yeah.
Not something that they wanted to carry home or consume later,
Yeah.
which had been the norm with our conventional customer, be it in a Chitale store or be it a supermarket or a grocery store. So how do we appeal there was when the question came up. Uh, we started working on it. Then COVID came. We realized that anything restaurant is not working very well, so let's wait about it.
Sure.
Then the distribution business just flew off thanks to the many changes in the packaging that we'd already introduced, and I think just the maturity of the market to sink in packaged product. But the distribution business now poses a challenge to our real estate business, where the same product is sometimes available with a retailer, with a supermarket, with a QCom player, and also at our own store.
Sure.
So, what is a compelling, unique factor why people will come to our real estate and not through a third-party real estate? This became a second draw for us to get into the experience side of it. And that's when we realized that people in India appreciate hot food very well. They appreciate fresh food even more. If both of this can be delivered to people at a affordable price point, there is enough market to be consumed. And then the strategy came was that where do we see more people coming in? Will it be the high streets or will it be the transit points? And then we started with the airports first, then the metros, and now coming into slightly more popular locations where the purpose is that, the instant hunger pangs that come in, how can we do that in a manner where we are selling hot food, preservative free food, and something that's cooked like right in front of them, but very efficiently. And then create a differential experience of what Chitale offers in real estate versus what Chitale offers in QCom versus what it will offer in a supermarket.
Yeah. And given that you'll be in metros or around the metro, wouldn't it also make food delivery easier, or would you plan to use those kitchens for delivering on, let's say, Zomato and so on?
So all of our physical retail points are connected with these e-commerce marketplaces, and that way they will be used as service points to reach consumers better. Because the data says that we are looking at about 68% Indians living in metros or urbanized areas in the future. So if that's like we are looking at around a billion people living in metros, that's a huge market which is going to be always gripped with challenges from infrastructure, because the pace of people migration is much faster in India compared to the pace of infra development. So how soon can we reach consumers? How pocketed can we be in terms of their approach? And how localized can we be where the brand, the communication, the availability and the quality are same irrespective of location. But the idea of impulse and instant consumption is something that we can satiate through that. So that's what we want to try and build.
No, migration across cities is creating so many business opportunities. I mean, companies like Urban Company, which went public, can exist primarily because these are migrants utilizing local services. Indraneel, I want to switch gears now to the family side of things, and this time more about how do you think about wealth as a family. Obviously, one massive asset that you have is the whole business itself. But outside of the asset, how does the family think about wealth management in terms of diversifying across financial and real estate?
So I think the families evolved in terms of the maturity of how they look at wealth management to a point where now we have a diverse portfolio through a diverse holding structure as well. Because now family offices are also become integral part of how we invest. It's not just the individual who's investing or the company and the treasury that is investing. So that way, real estate is of course something that everybody started off with, because that was the only avenue in earlier times. Eventually, that matured and the markets opened up, and I think the exposure into the market has been much higher. But along with the markets, it's also the valuables like the metals like gold and silver also dominating now, especially what's been happening over the last 1.5 years as well. And along with that, a lot of AIFs, which can be not necessarily a unilateral family function, but something that members in the family can choose, where they could be certain fixed funds who manage certain fixed specific areas which could be of interest to us, or it could be in businesses where we just like the promoter and back the promoter, where something came out great out of it. So that's where I think I would still say the real estate is probably about 25-30%. The major chunk of it is in the markets. And say about now close to about 15% is something that gets into alternative investment mechanisms, which could be in diverse spectrums.
Over this period, like how do you see risk appetite change across family members? Like, is there a consistent that everyone is as aggressive as that you mentioned, that majority of the portfolio is in the markets, some of it is in alternative investments, or do individuals in the family have like more conservative approaches and some like you may be more aggressive?
I think it's changed quite actively over the last 10 years. And what I would say is that it's a balanced appetite. I wouldn't call extremely aggressive as well in terms of the family. Sometimes individuals do take certain risk and they sometimes play out. Sometimes you land on your face as well. But then the exposure point of it is something that is shared, known, and public for everybody to negotiate and discuss as well. And we spend enough time with our external advisors to help us find the right path around it.
Sure. Uh, Indraneel, how does the Chitale brand evolve into the next few decades? It's been around for a long time, but if you sort of project forward in your lifetime, what would you like some of the big achievements to be?
So, see, we've just recently matured to a mechanism where now more professionals are running the business than family members. This stability is getting set as we speak, but in a year or two, it will be a well oiled machine. With that, what we see is that we first want to be a Indian multinational invested in the food business, because what we believe is that food is eternal in consumption, and that way it is a that way a rewarding task to be feeding people. So how do we remain invested into that as a spectrum is what we want to look into. Second big anchor that we are betting onto and internally part of our vision is that how do we improve the nutrition for every gram we sell, because the idea of nutrition is evolving and the requirement of nutrition is very diverse across the continents. So if we really want to be a multinational where we are focused on being a nutritional driven brand of consumption, we have to have a mechanism of doing the right R&D, doing the right product development, and doing the right processes which are internationally accredited. So that is something that we want to build globally. And the third, what we want to try and do is that we want to ensure that there are 7.8 billion people to feed, where about 30% of them are still under hunger or malnutrition or deprivation in terms of resources. So, how do we consciously build a farm to fork mechanism where we are improving the overall nutrition quality of the planet? And that's where we want to focus.
So, very interesting. So, you're saying multinational, nutritionally driven, and with a sense of impact.
Of backward integration, which I would say has been part of the Chitale ethos because our milk procurement starts with the farmer, and giving back is something that we consider as an important part of our family ethos.
And how do the next few generations, how do you think about that? Like, do you feel like you're already sort of cultivating the next generation to come into the business, or you want them to take their own decision a few decades later?
So, see, I think unless and until we invest time to cultivate them, there is never a compelling reason for them to join. So we have to be decisive about it as a family that how does the next generation actually be involved in the business. But while at that, I think there are challenges in this multipolar world that we are looking at are going to be very different compared to a city brand becoming a state brand to a national brand. So with that, how do we expose them to the diverse challenges that the world has to present, sensitize them to the nuances of how business is actually made, and that way create this sense of responsibility that they will be inheritors of a legacy which has been existing for a very long time, and they have to shape things in a manner where it should be better for the next generation to inherit. So if they are not up to the job, let the professionals do it. Is the clarity we need to instill in them, and then hope for the best that they will play their job to the extent or better than what we try to do with thanks to the generations before us cultivating us. So it's a change of guard process that happens and we have to be prepared for it.
And it's a work in progress, I guess.
Yeah.
I've learned so much in this discussion, and you have to credit your thoughtfulness, your candor, and importantly, your humility as well. Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much for this.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.